What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Saturday, January 6th, 2024, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now, it is 9:19 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States. Wanted to just update you on the situation in Asia, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe, and also I want to update you on the weather situation here in the United States. We have a massive winter storm affecting the Northeast. And we're going to have some more winter weather coming into the U.S. this coming week. So, North Korea fired 60 more artillery shells this morning toward the same area where they fired 200 shells 2 days ago in South Korea. So, that is very concerning. And the mainstream media is still not really covering what happened 2 days ago between North and South Korea. It should be on all the mainstream media 6 o'clock shows, okay? But they're not covering it for some reason. But 2 days ago, North Korea fired 200 or more artillery shells into South Korean territory. They fired the shells at some island. 2 islands were evacuated. We don't know any of the details. I don't have any updates on it for you guys, unfortunately. South Korea has been very quiet about it. They haven't mentioned whether the rockets landed in the water or if they actually landed in civilian areas on this island. We just don't know. But we do know that they did fire 200 shells or more into South Korean territory 2 days ago, and now they fired 60 more shells this morning. Okay. So, very concerning, guys. The situation in Korea is escalating rapidly. North Korea has spun up a second nuclear reactor for the purposes of enriching uranium and making more weapons grade nuclear fuel, okay, nuclear material for weapons. So, very concerning. And the other day, Kim Jong un took his daughter for a tour of a factory that builds missile trucks for their ICBMs, and he has been urging the North Korean military to accelerate preparations for war, and he's asking the military to build more missiles. Okay, so the situation in Korea is not looking good at all. And UK Defense Secretary Grant Shapps said North Korea will pay a high price for supporting Russia a day after the U.S. accused Moscow of using North Korean missiles in its war on Ukraine. The world has turned its back on Russia, forcing Putin into the humiliation of going cap in hand to North Korea to keep his illegal invasion going, Shapps said Friday. In doing so, Russia has broken multiple UN Security Council resolutions and put the security of another world region at risk. This must stop now. Okay, so Grant Shapps, the new Secretary of Defense of the UK, saying North Korea will pay a high price for supporting Russia. What that means, we don't know. Does that mean they're going to attack North Korea? They're going to do a preemptive strike on North Korea to take out their missile factories or, their nuclear facilities? I don't know, guys, but strong words there from Grant Shapps. And the White House on Thursday said it had intelligence indicating North Korea recently provided Russia with ballistic missile launchers and several ballistic missiles, and that Russian forces had launched at least one of these North Korean missiles into Ukraine on December 30th. Apparently, Russia used the KN-23 solid-fueled short-range missile, which has a warhead that weighs 1,100 pounds. John Kirby, the National Security Council spokesman, said that North Korea gave Russia the missiles and the launchers, and these missiles apparently have a range of 400 miles, guys. And last night, there was this strange Russian Air Force flight that went from the capital of North Korea to Vladivostok. This was an Ilyushin 62M. Okay, very unusual in the middle of the night. Okay, so, Before I continue with the breaking news, though, I want to just ask you guys to help out my friend Oleg. He's also known as Oregon Preparedness. That's his YouTube channel. Some of you guys may know who he is. He's a long haul trucker, and he just recently, over the holidays, got into an accident with his truck, and his truck needs thousands of dollars in repairs. And because he's an owner operator, he has to fix the truck himself, and it's very expensive. So he needs your help, guys. This is how he provides for his family. He has a wife and 2 kids, and this is how he pays the bills. And until he can get that truck fixed, he can't get back on the road, and he can't work and make money to pay his bills. So things are really tight for him right now financially. He's barely making ends meet. So if you guys could go to his GoFundMe, I'm going to leave a link to it in the description below this video, and also in the comments section down below. I'm going to pin it as a comment. And this morning, there was another drone attack in the Red Sea. The Houthis launched another drone at the USS Laboon, and it shot down the drone. Okay, so another attack or attempted attack on one of our warships, and all we do is just shoot these missiles or these drones down. Okay, they've already fired multiple anti-ship ballistic missiles at our ships, guys. Okay, with our men and women on these ships, okay, putting their lives on the line unnecessarily when we could just completely devastate the Houthis and they would no longer launch these missiles at our ships. Okay, and just pray for our men and women in uniform, because they're coming under attack like crazy in the Middle East now. Under the Biden administration, they're getting attacked left and right in Iraq, in Syria, in the Red Sea. We had the one pilot, I shared his GoFundMe a few days ago. He had a piece of shrapnel that went into his brain over the holidays. Okay. That was during one of the attacks on the U.S. base in Iraq on Christmas Day, I believe. Piece of shrapnel went into his head. So, very sad situation, guys. The Biden administration is just continuing to intercept these drones and missiles rather than trying to destroy the source. And as long as they keep doing that, it's just going to get worse and worse. Okay, but another drone attack on a U.S. warship this morning. And the Saudi Arabian army and the U.S. Army did some combined arms live fire exercises recently. Here's a picture that was shared by U.S. Central Command. You can see some M1 Abrams with American flags on them and MRAP, and then behind them some Saudi vehicles here. Okay, so very interesting that Saudi Arabia would suddenly start doing combined arms drills. And with all the news that broke over the holidays that the US and the UK were in the final stages of preparing for a massive attack on Yemen, and then just a few days ago, a joint statement released by the US and US allies giving a final warning to the Houthis to stop what they're doing, stop the attacks, stop the hijackings. Okay, and now suddenly they do a live fire exercise. So Saudi Arabia is right next to Yemen, guys. Is this training or preparation for a ground campaign into Yemen to clear out the Houthis? I don't know, but the timing is very strange. And look at all these ships that are going around Africa right now. Here we have a ship tracker, and you can see all these ships now that used to go through the Red Sea now have to go all the way around South Africa to get to Asia. Look at that, guys. That is costing billions of dollars. And the U.S. House of Representatives Foreign Relations Committee is calling for action in response to the Houthi attacks. And the spokesman for the Israeli Defense Forces, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, stated today that the Israeli Defense Forces have dismantled the Hamas military framework in northern Gaza. So basically, they are done in northern Gaza. Okay, northern Gaza is cleared out of Hamas, And now their focus is on southern Gaza. And then once they're done with that, they're going to go to Hezbollah. Unless Hezbollah attacks more aggressively in the coming days, like they did yesterday. They fired dozens of rockets at an Israeli surveillance base. If they do more stuff like that, then of course Israel will go in sooner. But I think Israel's going to first clear out southern Gaza, and then they're going to go after Hezbollah. And the Israeli army is confirming that they have killed 8,000 Hamas militants in northern Gaza, guys. 8,000 militants. That is insane. And here we have some footage from northern Israel yesterday. Okay, here were the rocket attacks on the Israeli surveillance base on Mount Meron. Look at these giant plumes of smoke. So this was a pretty serious attack on this Israeli base. Okay, we're not talking about little mortar shells or something. We're talking massive rockets. Look at those plumes of smoke, guys. You're talking warheads that have hundreds of pounds of explosive material. Okay, so very serious attack yesterday by Hezbollah on Israeli forces. And India's defense ministry is providing protective escorts to Indian container ships in the Red Sea and around the Red Sea as the security situation there continues to escalate, a government source said on Friday. So India taking care of their ships, that's what we should be doing. And here we have some footage coming out of Seattle, Washington. Some pro-Palestinian protesters shut down I-5, which is the major highway that goes through the Pacific Northwest. That would be like shutting down I-95 in New Jersey or somewhere in the East Coast. Okay, I-5 is a major highway that goes from Seattle down to Portland, and I think it goes all the way down to like Eugene. So it's a major highway, and they blocked the entire highway. Look at that, guys. Absolutely insane. And so these pro-Palestinian protests are getting more and more aggressive, and I think we're going to see full-fledged riots eventually. Okay, so get prepared. Tonight we have another pro-Palestinian protest in New York City. This is footage coming in from tonight in New York City. You can see more pro-Palestinians here. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a 25% off sale on their 4-week emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you have to go to preparewithNYPrepper.com. And again, that's 25% off of their 4-week emergency food supply. That's a $60 discount. And the food supply includes over 2,000 calories per day, up to a 25-year shelf life. It's packed into 2 rugged buckets and weighs 38 pounds total. Free shipping is included. And what's great about this is you have 4 weeks of food in just 2 buckets. You can easily put that anywhere. And if you have to bug out, you can easily throw that in your vehicle. Now, My Patriot Supply also has a general store where they sell pretty much any prepping and survival related product you could imagine. To get to their general store, you have to go to the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the preparewithNYPrepper.com webpage. You click on that logo and it takes you to their general store, and you can see they have pretty much anything you could imagine. They have potassium iodide at a great price. I have a few of these. They also have survival bars, survival seeds, water filters, solar generators, anything you can imagine. So check out preparewithNYPrepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 1-month emergency food supply. The link is in the description below this video. And CNN is reporting that Biden was not aware that Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, was being treated in the hospital for a few days, despite the U.S. Department of Defense claiming yesterday in a statement that while Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin was hospitalized beginning on Monday, he was still able to act using his powers as secretary. It has now been revealed that he had been in the intensive care unit at Walter Reed for the last 4 days, and that Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks assumed his duties and powers, even though she continued her vacation in Puerto Rico. While all of this occurred, members of Congress and the American public were still only notified on Friday. The Pentagon did not inform senior officials in the White House's National Security Council of Austin's hospitalization until Thursday, 3 days after he arrived at Walter Reed, a U.S. official confirmed. So this is 100% true, confirmed by a U.S. official, that Lloyd Austin did not notify the president and the National Security Council and members of Congress that he was in the intensive care unit for 3 days. Okay, it took him 3 or 4 days to tell anybody, and his Deputy Secretary of Defense was on vacation in Puerto Rico. Okay, so this is very concerning, guys. Very concerning. Our military is in disarray. Our Department of Defense is in disarray. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. And Russia is using 5 times more artillery shells per day than Ukraine. This is being reported by the Wall Street Journal. Russia launched S-300 missiles into a civilian area in Donetsk today, killing 11 people, including 5 children. And in Finland, a U.S. Air Force Lockheed Martin U-2 spy plane was spotted near Savonlinna, close to the border with Russia. This is in southeastern Finland. Here's a picture of that U-2 spy plane flying over Savonlinna, okay, close to the Russian border. And that's near the part of Finland known as Karelia, which actually the Russians during the Winter War took away from Finland. So very interesting, guys. The U.S. is now flying U-2 spy planes in Finland, and I'm sure they're probably flying into Russia. If they're flying along the Russian border, they're probably going into Russia. That's what the U-2s were made for, okay? During the Soviet Union, they flew multiple sorties every single month into the USSR, okay, with these U-2s. One of them was actually shot down. And we also had the SR-71 Blackbird as well. So, guys, we're basically back into the Cold War now. Okay, all the arms reduction treaties have been scrapped by Russia and the U.S. The Conventional Forces Europe Treaty was scrapped by Putin. The Nuclear Test Ban Treaty was scrapped by Putin. The START Treaty was scrapped by Putin. The Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty was scrapped by Trump. So we're basically back into like 1955, okay? This is serious, guys, okay? We are living in some very dangerous times right now. The doomsday clock is the closest it's ever been to midnight, okay, ever. And the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists is going to be putting out their update in just about 2 weeks with their updated doomsday clock for 2024, and I will be covering that when that comes out. I'll probably do a live stream. And in Russia, there's a state of emergency due to loss of heating and electricity. Here we have a picture inside of a Russian apartment building, and you can see the stairway is completely crusted over with frost and ice. Here's another picture. It looks like a freezer, okay? And people are actually resorting to building bonfires outside of their apartments to warm up because they have no heat inside their apartments, okay? So looks like we're going back to the Cold War. So this is basically like going back in time when Russians during the USSR had shortages of food and shortages of heat. Okay, it's very ominous what's going on over there. And then also there's lines for fuel. This is coming out of Moscow. Look at this line for fuel, guys. All these people lined up in the Moscow area because there's fuel shortages, okay? So very serious situation over there. State of emergency in Moscow. loss of heat, loss of power in many areas. Okay. And here's the number of artillery shells that Russia and Ukraine have been using. And you can see right now, Russia's using 5 times the amount as Ukraine versus in the summer, this past summer, it was almost equal. And Ukraine was actually using slightly more artillery. Okay, so Ukraine ran out of artillery basically, and Russia has been going into wartime production, and they produced a lot of artillery shells. And right now, we're in the midst of a debate over whether Ukraine should get more weapons and more aid, okay, here in the US and also in Europe. So it's not looking good for Ukraine, guys. And here we have a picture coming out of China. This is in one of the deserts in China. Apparently, they built this mock aircraft carrier so they could practice with their missiles, basically practice striking, with their missiles against U.S. aircraft carriers. So that's pretty concerning. This picture was taken in the Taklamakan Desert, and it was taken on January 1st. Okay, so just 5 days ago. And apparently it's modeled after the Gerald R. Ford, which is our most advanced and our newest aircraft carrier. Okay, so China's definitely preparing for a showdown with us. And the Taiwan Ministry of Defense reported that this morning 13 Chinese military aircraft and 5 Chinese naval vessels were spotted around Taiwan, and also 2 Chinese balloons were detected yesterday after crossing the median line of the Taiwan Strait. The balloons' altitudes were approximately 17,000 and 24,000 feet. The balloons headed northeast and sequentially disappeared at 12:57 and 15:37 local time yesterday. Okay, and if you remember a week ago, China sent 4 balloons. So that's a total of 6 balloons already that they've sent across the Taiwan Strait in the last week. Okay, so something's brewing, guys. I think China might make a move on Taiwan because they see the weakness. They see that the U.S. is overwhelmed with all these war fronts. We have Ukraine, we have Israel, Venezuela, Korea, and they see that the Biden administration is having difficulty handling all these war fronts. And also, Xi Jinping may figure that the next U.S. president could be a Republican, and the Republican will be a lot tougher on China and will be a much stronger supporter of Taiwan. So he may figure, well, this might be the year that we attack Taiwan. So if China attacks Taiwan, obviously I will go live 24/7. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon below so you get notified when I do go live, when that happens. And apparently, farmers in Germany want to just show you guys some flight paths. Here we have what appears to be Anthony Blinken's plane going from Cyprus to Israel. He was supposed to visit Israel on Monday, so looks like he might have already arrived in Israel. And here we have an aerial refueler up over northern Iraq this evening. This was taken earlier this evening. Okay, so lots of aerial refueling going on over northern Iraq. That's a U.S. aerial refueler. Here we have a Lockheed Martin WC-130 Weatherbird. This is a plane that the Air Force uses to help the NOAA, the National Weather Service, collect data on storms. And they're sending this thing through the middle of this nor'easter that's impacting the northeastern U.S. This is an interesting flight. This is a C-40A Clipper, and it took off from Key West, and it went up to Colorado Springs, which is where NORAD is, and then it went from NORAD to Fort Worth, okay? This is a VIP plane for the U.S. Navy, so some VIP went from the naval station in Key West to Colorado Springs, where NORAD is, and then to Fort Worth. Very interesting. I'd like to hear your thoughts on what you think this was and who was on this plane. and I want to show you guys this map coming from Germany of the farmers' protest that's going to start on Monday. They're going to try to shut down multiple highways and multiple areas around Germany to protest the diesel taxes that are going to make it very difficult for them to stay in business as farmers. Okay. So, as you can see, all across Germany, multiple protests planned. They're going to go out with their tractors and block roads. Okay. So, this is because the German government has all these radical ideas on uh, protecting the climate. And one of the things they want to do is tax diesel. Okay. I want to just give you guys an update on the weather situation. We currently have winter storm warnings for much of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. Pennsylvania's mostly under a winter storm warning. Upstate New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. Okay, all these areas here under winter storm warnings. These areas shaded in pink here. And I want to show you guys the latest radar image. Okay, so here we have the rain snow line. It's right around New York City, and Long Island is getting mostly rain right now. But you can see this huge area of snow in upstate New York and northern Pennsylvania. Here in my area, we got like 8 inches of snow. I was out earlier today driving around in the snow, and it was a lot. It came down really hard because it basically all came down within like a 6 hour period. So it was snowing like an inch per hour. So the snow was heavy. There's a lot of accidents here in my area, a lot of car accidents. Some roads had to get shut down because they were just too dangerous for vehicles. You can see some really heavy snow right now in coastal Connecticut, interior Connecticut, and the lower Hudson Valley of New York. They're getting pounded right now with snow. And here we have the forecast for another snowstorm supposed to hit the Midwest this coming week, Sunday night through Tuesday night. Okay, so starting tomorrow night, it's coming from the Pacific Northwest, and it's going to bring up to 12 inches of snow in Iowa, Illinois, Kansas, Wisconsin, Michigan, and up to 60-mile-per-hour winds. Okay, so a very dangerous blizzard about to hit the Midwest. And we also have this Arctic blast that's going to be coming in about a week or so next weekend. Here we have a forecast showing temperatures as low as minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit in western Montana, even up here near the Bob Marshall Wilderness, minus 69 degrees Fahrenheit, guys. This is obviously just a model, so it may not get that cold, but that is insane to see on a model. I mean, even if it gets within 10% of what they say here on this model, that's still going to be like minus 50, minus 40 in western Montana. Look at that. That is just insane, guys. And here's an animation, and you can see this cold air coming down through Washington, Idaho, Montana. Okay, it looks like the Pacific Northwest and the Northwest are going to really feel this Arctic blast the most. But this Arctic air is going to spread into the Midwest. And you can see here a lot of minus 30s and minus 40s across the Midwest. Okay, so stay tuned. It looks like we're going to have an Arctic blast coming in about 7 to 10 days. Okay, so I'll be monitoring this. And now's a good time before this Arctic blast comes to make sure you have your winter survival kit in your vehicle. Make sure you have warm boots, gloves, a hat, some good outerwear, a warm jacket. And also, I always keep a wool blanket in my vehicle, keep some recovery boards. In case you get stuck in snow, you can slide those boards under your wheels so you can drive up on those boards. Also, make sure you keep some water in your vehicle. Anytime you travel pretty far, bring a bottle of water with you, okay? And bring some snacks. So that's just the bare minimum, okay? Also, you want to keep something that you can use to start a fire with. maybe even keep some firewood. This sounds crazy, but I actually keep some fat wood and some small pieces of firewood in my vehicle in case I do get stranded somewhere. I can always start a fire with that wood if I need to warm up or something. And I want to just update you guys on the El Nino Southern Oscillation status. We're still in an El Nino right now. According to the NOAA, we're in an El Nino advisory, but they are saying that we're going to transition to ENSO neutral starting April through June, with a 60% chance of transitioning to ENSO neutral April to June. So this El Nino is going to stay through the winter, and then it's going to weaken in the springtime. And then we're going to have to see if next winter we're going to have a strong La Nina, because if we do, we could have a massively cold and snowy winter next winter, okay? But I'll keep you guys updated on the status of the El Nino. And apparently on Friday, January 12th, that's next Friday, there's going to be a secret meeting to discuss UFOs in the heart of the U.S. government. Members of the House Oversight Committee will be given a classified briefing on unidentified anomalous phenomena, okay, in the Office of House Security. Okay, so the House Oversight Committee is going to be getting a classified briefing on UFOs next week, guys, okay? So it's really getting crazy. We got wars, we got earthquakes, we have aliens now, UFOs, lots of evidence coming out showing UFOs flying around. So crazy times we're living in, guys. I will be back tomorrow with more breaking news. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. And until then, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.